Thanks, Anne, for this presentation on using Info Explorer to analyze returns. Now let's look at using RMA with other Orchid modules such as Extender and Information Manager, specifically Notes and Document Management Link. While RMA helps automate the returns process, Notes and Document Management Link help provide transparency in the business, where notes and documents can be shared among all team members that process returns and deal with the customer. Extender is used to control the approval workflow. In our example, Sue enters the return in Orchid RMA in Sage 300. Using Notes and Document Management Link, she will find the email received from the customer and add a note. When the client returns the goods, the RMA is marked complete, which starts the workflow. In our example, we've configured Extender Workflow to assign the return to the QA inspector, who will review the stock before handing over to accounts for the final approval. Accounts can then approve the return, the RMA, to complete it and create the replacement order and/or the credit note as required. Let's now have a look in Sage 300. I'm logged into Sage 300 as Susan, and I receive an email from a customer that they want to return a good because the wrong color was sent. So I'm going to go into RMA and select Mr. Ronald Black, our customer. In the email he mentioned he attaches the invoice, so I know that it's come from invoice 004, which I can see here. So I'm just going to quickly add that RMA. And as you can see, we've configured Document Management Link to display some documents relevant to the RMA here, and we haven't entered any yet, and also to the original invoice, the documents relevant to Mr. Ronald Black. I've selected invoice 04, I can see the document here, and if I need to, I can double click on that document and open it. So he's only returning this one item, so I'm going to use F9 to open the screen, return one, and it is going to go on the replacement order because they want it in a different color. Save this. So now I can print my RA instruction. And in this example, I'm going to save my RA to the network folder that I've configured in DML. And I've configured it to create one folder per RA. So now if I refresh my tray, I can see that the RA instruction has been filed in Document Management Link. Exploring, I can see this document here. I might also want to add the original email from Mr. Ronald Black. And to do this, I'm going to go to my scan document, and this is the email that I have saved previously, and it gets renamed and attached into that particular folder. Sue can now add a note to that return. In the bronze color. So now I can see that I've got my note, I've got my documents relating to the original invoice, and I've got the document specific to the RMA. So a couple of days passed, and Susan now receives the goods from Mr. Ronald Black. So the RMA is now ready to be completed. So when she clicks complete, that will then start the workflow configured in Extender. Get a little message telling us that the workflow needs approval before it's completed. And this message is configurable. The fact that you get a message is also configurable in Extender workflow. So I close this, I don't need to print it. Next step, we've configured our workflow to assign the return to the QA inspection. So I'm going to log on as the QA user. Then open the workflow console, and I'm seeing that this return was started by Susan, return 21. I can check some values that might have been entered in the workflow, like it's customer 1200 Ronald Black. I know it's waiting for the inspection. I can drill down to either the customer activity or the customer, and also to the actual RMA. So I'm going to open it from here. And logged in as the QA user, I see the same documents, so that they have access to the notes as well. And now you can see that they have access to the notes. So it is your choice in the configuration who can view what notes and what documents. So the QA user reviews the inspects the items, reviews the RMA, can amend the RMA as if required. And when they're done, they can click the inspect button to confirm that the inspection has been completed. The workflow has been configured that they need to enter a comment. So that all packaging was included and it can go back to stock. As that happens, the workflow now drops off my console because I've done my job as a QA user. But if I look at all workflow, I can see that now my RA21 has been allocated to accounts. So what I need to do is log in as Steve, who's part of the accounts team. And Steve can then look at the workflow console and sees RA21 waiting for approval. You can filter by colors if he only wants to see the RAs. And from here, similarly, he can choose to drill down to the actual RA. And like the other users, he will have access to the documents. He can check the original invoice and he can see the note. He could also enter his own note. So it's okay to send a replacement order as their account is current. And then from here, you can then could reject the next phase of the returns, or he can approve it and say, okay, to send a new order. Actually, I'm going to cancel this. Show you one thing, that as he's looking at the workflow console in the values, he can see the inspection comment in here that it's okay to return the item to stock, etc. So now I'm going to approve that, enter my comment. It's okay to send a new item. As I'm doing that, it's going to complete the RMA, which I can get to from the workflow log. And as I had filtered my log, I'm going to clear my filter and look at my RA21. So as you can see, I could filter by just RA21 here to see exactly what's happened to that array. So we now have a complete log of what has actually happened to our array in the system. It was created by Sue, and because it wasn't marked complete the first time around, workflow wasn't required. When Sue made the array complete, when the item came back, it went to the stage of waiting for inspection. Then the QA user did the inspection and it got assigned to accounts. And Steve in accounts did the final approval. First time around, because I clicked cancel and did complete the approval, it stayed in that waiting step. So I can see that Steve first looked at it and then, a few minutes later or the next day actually finalized the approval. And from here I can also drill down to my array. And I can see the notes that Steve has added. And if I look at the comments, I can see the inspection comment. We've configured the workflow to save the inspection comment here against the array. And again, this is configuration that you can do yourself in the workflow template. And that actually leads us to the next step of the presentation, which is a very brief overview of the configuration that is required to add notes, document management link, and extender workflow to RMA. We can now open the extender workflow template, and I can see, make this a little bit bigger, because the core of the workflow is around these key steps that are designed to match your business process. So you can see we start the workflow at the beginning and then we go to the step called waiting for inspection, and the next step is to inspect. So when I inspect, as we saw on the screen, we prompt the user to enter some comment. We save the comment that they enter in the RMA comment. We update the workflow status, and then we assign it to another user called approver. And in our case, it was the accounts user group and Steve. And then we go to the step waiting for approval. So if you didn't want that inspect step, you just need to configure your workflow to bypass that. You could go straight to waiting for approval, and only accounts would deal with the final approval. At any step, we can add sending an email to the person who started the workflow, which we're doing here in the approve step, and we're also doing it in the reject step. You can configure the workflow to meet your business process. And there are lots of video presentation on the Orchid website about configuring the workflow. Now let's briefly have a look at Info Manager setup. Again, there are detailed presentations and quick start videos on setting up notes and document management links, so we will not go through that today, but we will look at the different notes. In this example, we've created an RMA note. We haven't selected a category, but we could change it and make it a different category, for example, this one. And then this is where we can assign the different users to the different note roles. So Susan and QA user see the notes for sales. And if I'm looking at the sales role, I can see that these are the notes they can see. So they can add, view, and edit the RMA notes, but they can't delete them. They can't actually delete any notes. And there are some notes that they can't view at all. Once we've configured our notes, for notes and DML, remember that on the screen here we have a box per RA document, a box for the original invoice number, and box for the RA notes. So to configure this, we do this in Information Manager, IM Setup, IM Options, and on the Notes DML Extender tab, we have 3 records that correspond to the RA screen. RA1001. The first one here is by customer number and RA number. Next one is customer number and customer original invoice. And the third one is the note for RA number. So let's start with this one, and on the details tab it's easier to see what is happening. So here we have configured it based on the field label called customer number and RA number. So reminder that Notes and Document Management link display the information based on the field labels on the Sage 300 desktop screens. And as you have seen probably in previous presentations, you can use the tray options to find the roto ID, the RA1001, as well as the actual screen labels that you want to use. So here we're creating in that folder called RA Documents a folder per customer value and a folder per RA number value too. And we've chosen to rename, and we've given a heading to that document. You could do similar configuration using Document Management Link and SharePoint. So if I look at the other configuration for Document Management Link and RA in this example, it's based on a grid field, the customer original invoice number, which is based on the detail line. So same thing, you just have to copy the exact label on the grid heading. And for our note, we're doing it only based on the RA number. So nothing to do with the customer, it's just based on the RA number. And we've selected the note type. And again, we can change the heading. So once we've done that and saved, we need to come here, refresh the tray. And in the options, we need to select that the user on this workstation is a DML user. And if I'm using SharePoint, I need to enter the SharePoint logon details. Save that, and then I'm ready to use Notes and Document Management link with RA. So in this scenario, we've seen how we can track notes and documents per RMA document, as well as per customer, as well as seeing documents that are linked to the invoices and the original invoices and the customer overall. RMA helps manage your returns efficiently when you add Info Explorer to provide insights into your returns rate by customer and items. You add Extender to enforce business rules validation, to develop a workflow around your RA. You can also use Extender to automate the printing of the RA so that the return instructions and the other documents created by RA are automatically saved with the right name in the customer folder. You really have a lot of flexibility in how you can process your returns to increase transparency and improve customer experience. In our example, we had configured the workflow to have 2 levels, but it is your choice how you configure it for your business requirements and also for different types of returns. You can notify users by email, and there are many examples in the workflow video on the Orchid website demonstrating using emails. You also have options to approve returns outside of the Sage 300 desktop using Remote Action Service and Workflow Anywhere, the mobile app. So this is the end of our presentation for today. Thank you very much for your time. You can look at the Orchid website for more information on RMA and the other Orchid modules that we have reviewed today. And now we are ready for questions.